Hi folks, hope you're doing well. My name is Marc Gallagher. I am a musician and ukulele player here in the UK. Today is a ukulele review video which takes a look at the Flight Iris Tinta concert in, I think it's Transparent Purple is what they've called this. And yeah, it's a pretty little thing. And I've had this uke for a while. I wanted to make sure that I gave it the time it needed for me to actually formulate my thoughts. So the story of this, back in December, the folks at Flight said, "Hi, we're launching a uke. Do you want to borrow it?" And I kind of thought about it for a while. And finally I said, sure. I think it was about March maybe that I said, sure, I'll borrow it. And they said, oh, it's cool. You can keep it if you like. So great. I'm not being paid by Flight to make this video, but they have sent me this uke for free, which is very nice of them. However, if you've seen my previous videos on like Flight ukuleles or jet guitars or tom ukuleles, I don't just blindly shill. I do constructively criticize, and there are some constructive criticisms I do have of this instrument. Firstly, let's take a look at what the Flight Iris Tinta is. When you hear Flight Iris Tinta, you think that it is like another version of another ukulele, the Flight Iris. However, it's actually a very different thing. You'd think from the name alone of like Flight Iris Tinta, you'd think it's just like the Flight Iris but in a different color. Whereas the Flight Iris has a solid spruce top with laminate back and sides and that weird pickguard thing. Whereas this ukulele is all solid mahogany. So, like, this is a very different instrument, and I think it would benefit from a different name. Instead of it being the Flight Iris Tinta, call it something else. Flight have, like, really nice names for their instruments, like the Fireball and the Comet and other things like that. They could do a similar thing for this, like the Gemstone or something, rather than trying to make it sound like a version of an instrument that it really isn't. The Iris is so much different from the Tinta. So that's one like weird thing I have about this uke. So like I said, this is all solid mahogany. They've got them in a few different colors. I think it's black, blue, and then what they've called transparent purple, TPP. Personally, I think this ukulele looks a bit more red than purple, but that's just me. Maybe I'm just colorblind. I don't know. Like, let me know if you think it is reasonable to call this purple rather than, like, you know, red. I mean, men's color lexicon is quite different than women's, to be fair. On all of the Flight Iris Tintas, regardless of in which color you get it, it has this light blue rosette and also these fret dots that are on the side of the uke. For me, personally, I like the way these blue ones look in isolation, and I like how they look in contrast to like the black finish, but personally on the purple I don't think the light blue goes quite as nicely with it, and I would prefer if that rosette and these dots were, you know, something else that kind of matched a little bit better. Also, like, subjectively, the side dots, well, side dots, the dots on the side of the front of the fingerboard, that messes with me a little bit. I'd rather they be in the middle, but also it's whatever. And then, yeah, it's got side dots here. Also on here, we've got the Flight headstock. It's a slotted headstock. I've said my thing about slotted headstocks before. Personally, I don't like them. Personally, I find them a bit finicky to restring and a bit of a pain in the arse, but I understand that they are very much like a part of Flight's signature now. Additionally, you've got the ebony faceplate here, which is lovely. And yeah, I like this one very much. It's such a really nice, classy touch. You're probably seeing like the reflections of the light. This has a really nice gloss finish. I'm always a sucker for a gloss finish. Unfortunately, you've got like a bit of my fingerprints all over this now, so apologies. Is it really something to apologize for? Yeah, I'm sorry. I've touched and held the uke that I've played and I'm reviewing, so how very dare I guess. It's whatever. When I was given the choice by Flight as to which ukulele from the Iris Tinta lineup to get, I made the choice to get the Iris Tinta in purple as a concert. I got it for a couple of reasons. Yes, blue is my branding. See, like, a lot of the stuff about me. But also, I have a Comet in blue, and I didn't necessarily want to get like a worse version of what I already have from Flight. No shade on this. This is designed as a like £179 instrument compared to the £600 Comet. So that's why I wanted to get something that kind of stood out a little more on its own. And then I decided to get it as a concert because I've got about 5 tenor ukuleles and I've only got one concert uke. So I wanted to try and see if I could give a little bit of a representation to the often overlooked concert ukulele. In terms of how this ukulele feels in my hands, it's really nice. It feels really light. Maybe that's because it's a concert. Maybe it's because of the slide headstock. I also want to think that it might be down to the bracing. I'll show some B-roll where on the top brace, you've got some little drill holes in here, which I think reduce some of the weight of the top. I don't need a strap. Yes, I use a strap like for most of my stuff, and this uke does come equipped with a strap button, but like, this is really light and comfortable for me to hold. In terms of the neck, it's a 36mm nut width with a C profile, and it feels pretty good in my hands. In terms of price, this is £179, which is, you know, a really good price, to be fair, considering it is all solid mahogany and it's in a really nice little finish here. This kind of price point isn't designed as your first uke, although it would be excellent if you did get it as a first uke. But this is mainly designed as like your second ukulele. When you have your beta in the form of like the Flight Ultra series or the Art series, if you get that as your first ukulele or a beta ukulele, this acts as like a next step up from there. Taking a look at the notes I made for this video, at a similar sort of price point to this instrument, you could also get a Flight Antonia, which is laminate back and sides, the DUC 450, which is all laminate, the MUC2, which is all solid mahogany, or the UMA UK 20SC or a Snail BHC 6C. So those are like the similar kind of ballpark instruments at that price point. With this in mind, I think that this is still really well spec'd for its price. That being said, I am really interested in the MUC2 from Flight because that's slightly more like vintage styled, and I'd really like to try that ukulele if Flight ever did fancy sending me one. But for this price, this ukulele is still very well spec'd. Next thing I'm going to get into is the sound of the instrument. So I'll start playing some things and I'll give you some thoughts as well. So in terms of how this sounds, it's really interesting because I recently did a video that looked at a tom ukulele. It was an all solid tenor ukulele. And in that one, I found that one, despite it being mahogany, which is quite known for being a dark sounding wood, that ukulele was incredibly bright and zingy, which was not something I ever expected of mahogany. And that surprised me a lot. This ukulele, it sounds much more like I would expect of mahogany. It's got that darkness around it. It's got a little bit of warmth to it, although the sustain is somewhat lacking because it's a concert ukulele. It's not really what it's designed to do. You do still have a little bit of pep because of the scale length and because of the slide headstock. You get like a certain sweetness from the tone with an underlying warmth and neutral to it. Neutral and neutrality to it. There's a sweetness there, kind of like what I would expect in something like an acacia in terms of that sweetness. And I think that comes down to the headstock and the scale length. I'm not too used to playing concerts as of late, so this has been quite a welcome change sonically for me. You still have some nice articulation to this when I do some chord melody things especially. However, you might have heard some slight intonation issues, and that has been my biggest issue with this instrument, and it's one of the reasons why that I procrastinated and waited until I had over a month of playing this uke to try and make a video about it. The main issue that I have had with this ukulele is trying to get it to stay in tune. Usually when you get a new instrument, it will be common for the strings to kind of go a bit flat as you are playing it. Basically, the strings are a bit loose. Every time you tune the uke up and then you hit it hard strumming wise, it will then loosen and go flat in pitch. However, what I've had here is the opposite, where this ukulele has kept consistently going sharp in pitch. So I will put the ukulele down for a day, I'll pick it up the following day, I start strumming, and then there will be a string or multiple strings that go sharp in pitch. And that is alien to me. It's not something I've ever really had before, and it's confused me a lot. I don't know if this is the case with all of the Flight Iris Tintas or if it's just the one that I've got, but the one in my hands right now is a little bit of a pain in the ass to keep in tune. And my house isn't that cold. We're in April now. The sun is out. I had to have the window open while setting up for the shoot because the weather's picked up. So it's not a case of if I was in January and my house was getting cold and it was the time where all of my instruments were raising in pitch, I wouldn't mind. But that's not what's happening with my other instruments. This is the lone exception. So it's been a bit of a pain in my backside. I did call to the ukulele store and asked what the reason might be for such an issue, and Romeo, he suggested to take the same string and just swap the ends, so have this end at the saddle come up to the headstock and vice versa. At the moment, I've not done that yet because I wanted to document this issue. After I finish recording this, I will swap the ends over and I will report back. Hey, Future Mark here. So I did what I said I was going to do. I restrung it. It's not the cleanest of restring jobs, but it will have to do for now. I just wanted to demonstrate it and I can tidy it up later on. What we're going to do is just take a quick look at how this plays. Broadly speaking, I do think this has worked and this has helped. It's not a perfect solution for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I'm going to give a little bit of a constructive critique here in the tuners. I did not like the feel of these tuners as I was restringing this ukulele, and I think the tuners felt a bit too grindy. And not smooth like some other ones, especially that on the Flight Comet, which I've got. These tuners are not branded. Maybe the Flight Comet ones are something posh like Grover's or something else. I don't know. I'll throw that up here now. Okay, since I swapped the string ends over, I've had the uke for a couple of hours and got it to settle in somewhat, and I do think that this is holding itself a little better than it did beforehand, where it kept going really sharp in pitch. This kind of holds itself a bit nicer. It's not a perfect solution because now at this point on the string, we've got like some sort of like cut or abrasion or indentation where this has previously been through the hole in the machine head and, you know, been at some tension there. And now we've got this abrasion here, which just means that it's going to be more prone to breaking in the future if I was to keep hammering it. So that's a point to bear in mind. And I guess the best next step forward is to just restring it all together with something else. I don't know why the instrument kept going sharp in pitch. I don't know why swapping the string ends has improved the issue, but it has. And I wanted to give you that information so that if you're experiencing the same thing, you can do that. And hopefully that will help you. Anyway, back to past Marc. Overall, this ukulele is well made. It is all solid mahogany, and I love the stain and its color. I love the translucence of it, so you can still see the wood grain underneath. I think that's really, really nice. I do have a couple minor cosmetic gripes in terms of like the shade of blue on the rosette in comparison to the red and the side dots, well, the dots being on the side rather than in the middle of the fingerboard. But that's a subjective thing. I do still like the ebony faceplate. I still like the feel of this in my hands. It's very nice, and sound-wise, it is nice for its price. It would make a very good, it would make an excellent first ukulele. As a second ukulele, it would be a very good step up from something like the Flight Ultra or the Flight Art series. As for the tuning issue that I felt with this specific instrument, if this is just a one-off and not representative of the Iris Tinta series as a whole, then I'd say absolutely go for it if you are looking at a uke in that price point. However, if it is, and right now I don't know if it is, then I would really be flirting with the MUC2 because of that vintage style. I'd be really eyeing that up if, you know, as a nice alternative to this. However, broadly speaking, Flight do a really nice thing where they have a nicely spec'd instrument and they don't charge that much for it. I look forward to, you know, seeing what else I can do with this and with concert ukuleles in general. And that'll do it for today. Thank you very much to Flight for sending me this instrument. It's very kind of you, and I'm very grateful to continue working with you as a Flight artist. My name is Marc Gallagher. If you like the videos here, then consider supporting me on your social media of choice at Marc Gallagher Music, Marc with a C. Consider supporting me on Patreon as well. Until next time, my name is Marc Gallagher. Like the video if you want, share if you feel compelled to, and follow me on places. I'll catch you down the road.